evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We start off on the East Coast where Mikmaw lobster harvesters were handcuffed and arrested in southwestern Nova Scotia, and fisheries officers seized a boat where the Mikmaw are treaty fishing. Among those arrested, a 14-year-old boy. Angel Moore reports.
They just seized a sea bug because we have our treaty tags on here. And they just seized it, had us all in handcuffs. Had that miner right there, Ryerson, in handcuffs.
Ryerson Muse, 14 years old, was arrested and handcuffed by fisheries officers with the rest of the crew who were harvesting lobster under the Sabaganagati First Nation treaty fishery.
Before they handcuffed me, I told them I was 14, and they didn't listen until I told them after again. I told them 3 times before they put them on me.
According to the Department of Fisheries, fisheries officers may handcuff individuals as part of arrest procedures, depending on the circumstances at the time of arrest. This includes use between the ages of 12 and 18. Levi Paul Sr., captain and owner of the vessel Seabug, says the officers boarded the boat on the waters and immediately handcuffed everyone.
And here I have with me my nephew, Ryerson, who is a minor, and he blatantly told them that he was a minor, and they still didn't give a care. They put handcuffs on this young man, terrified him. He was scared to death, this young boy.
The fisheries officers towed Seabug and their crew to Matagan Wharf, where the commercial fishermen boats are based.
We were humiliated because there was a bunch of young guys standing around working on their boats and everything, laughing and joking about it because we were all handcuffed. And so they were taking pictures and recording us and making jokes and whatever.
Paul's boat was seized for alleged violations of the Fisheries Act and doesn't know what he will do next.
And with no boat right here where my sea bug used to be, it's not there anymore. Now how am I going to get out there and check my traps? What am I going to do, swim?
Paul still has traps in the water and will keep fishing, and Ryerson will continue to help his uncle.
I'm not going to stop fishing, because it's the one thing we're allowed to do. They're trying to take that away, so I'm going to keep on fishing.
No charges were laid against Paul and his crew, but the Department of Fisheries says the investigation is ongoing. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Saulnieville Wharf.
News from Toronto this week. Ryerson University will be changing its name. The school's Standing Strong Task Force made 22 recommendations to the Board of Governors. All were accepted. One of those recommendations is to remove Egerton Ryerson's name from the school. Ryerson was one of the architects of Canada's residential school system, and many Indigenous advocates have been pushing for this change. Well, the federal election campaign ticks along, and despite what the parties promise, this entire election comes down to what you, the voter, choose to do at the ballot box. Our Kent Driscoll joins us from Iqaluit to tell us how to make sure that we get registered so you on election day can make sure your vote counts. Kent, how's it done?
All right. The first requirement that almost everybody knows. You have to be 18 years old and a Canadian citizen to vote. Next, you need to find out if you're already registered. There's a simple link on the Elections Canada website, and you can find all that information right there. You can also request a mail-in ballot from that site. Now, here's an important note about the mail-in ballot. Once you register to vote mail-in, that is how you are voting. You can't ask for a mail-in ballot and then show up in person to vote. It's either or. And if your mail-in ballot doesn't reach Elections Canada before Election Day, your vote won't be counted. Now, if you are registered, you should be getting a voter information card in your mailbox. If you filed your taxes, you already had a chance to register to vote. There's a little box you could check off on the return that would share your information with Elections Canada. Finally, you can register on Election Day. Now, you just show up with a piece of government-issued identification with your name, photo, and current address on it. That's option 1. Now, option 2, you just need a form of photo ID and a document with your current address, like a utility bill. And finally, if you know a poll worker at the poll where you're going to vote, they can attest that you are indeed who you are. Back to you in Winnipeg.
Well, in a different election, First Nations people on reserve won't be able to easily vote in Alberta's upcoming provincial referendum. Since Indigenous communities aren't considered municipalities, those living on reserve will have to either travel to the nearest municipality to vote or vote by mail. Plebiscite questions include whether equalization payments should be eliminated from the Constitution and whether Alberta should adopt a year-round daylight savings time. Albertans will vote on October 18th. Well, the Northwest Territories is facing the biggest COVID-19 outbreak yet, with 220 active cases, 190 of which are in an isolated region. Our reporter Charlotte Jacobs has this update.
220. That's today's number. The COVID-19 outbreak in the Northwest Territories includes multiple communities, daily new exposure notices, and now the loss of an elder. The first death from the virus in the NWT.
Elder was a very active member of the elders that had just tremendous amount of knowledge on history and traditional ways.
That's Tommy Kakfui's voice, chief of Fort Good Hope Dene Band, a community under a 10-day lockdown with 84 active cases.
We have established a emergency medical team, and we've suspended all passenger flights in and out of the community except for essential workers.
The 600-person community of Fort Good Hope is in the Sawtoo, ground zero for the outbreak. 190 of the 220 COVID-19 cases are in the remote region. Chief Kakfui says they're taking it day by day, and supports are coming in.
The team has just been working 12 to 15-hour days, and the cooperation from residents has been just awesome. I mean, we have a curfew and everybody is complying with it and wearing masks and staying home. Yeah, we have delivery service. We have food and food hampers that are brought in, but
Coville Lake sits at 74 cases. That's half of the community's population. A vaccine clinic has been set up in the community for the last week. Isabel Orleus, a community member, just received her shot today.
Well, we're stuck at home, so I think the kids are happy to have both parents home all day. And I think that the community is doing a good job following the rules. You only see the essential workers like running around delivering groceries or whatever necessities we need.
Elsewhere, Yellowknife sits at 27 active cases. The Canadian Red Cross is in the capital now for orientation before being deployed to communities, as requested by the GNWT. Charlotte Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Well, we need to take a quick break, but still ahead, an Alberta town closes its homeless shelter. Now people are living in tents and worried what fall and winter will bring. Stay with us. Welcome back. Earlier this month, the city of Wetaskiwin, south of Edmonton, closed a homeless shelter. It had only been operating for 9 months, and now those evicted are camping in tents across the city, and they're wondering where they'll sleep with winter approaching. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
The Hub in Wetaskiwin opened in November of last year. It housed 60 people each night and provided services to hundreds more. In May, the city of Wetaskiwin pulled the lease on the city-owned building. The city said complaints from businesses and residents about increased crime caused the decision. Tyler Gandam is the mayor of Wetaskiwin.
As time went on, we were seeing a big increase in the number of people downtown. Then there became an issue when people were being accosted. There was assaults happening downtown, open drug use, open alcohol use.
When the shelter closed on August 9th, many had nowhere to go. Some arrived on the doorstep of the Rock Soup, Greenhouse, and Food Bank. Craig Halbitson is the executive director.
If we close the shelter, where are people going to go? If we close the shelter, how are people going to eat? And these questions just kept going unanswered by by the powers that be. And so on August 9th, when the shelter closed, 22 people showed up on our doorstep here at the Rock Soup Greenhouse and Food Bank because they knew we wouldn't turn them away.
They had to set up quickly. Rock Soup is providing food, clothes washing, and paying for showers at the nearby pool.
We're volunteer run, so me and about 7 volunteers put together camp for 22 in 2 hours. They came with no tents, no blankets, no nothing. We put the call out to our community on social media, and people rallied. And so we were able to shelter, feed, and clothe 22 people on night 1.
V. Duncan is a mental health and homeless advocate. He's working with the Rock Soup to help those in Wetaskiwin who need it. He says the city doesn't have a plan for the winter to help the people staying here and the other encampments in the city.
They want to move everyone over behind like this empty lot behind Walmart, and it's kind of ridiculous because they aren't offering any amenities, washrooms, food support.
Both Duncan and Helvetson say the reports of crime are overblown.
Because they're saying that it's bringing more crime to the neighborhood, but I don't see that really happening. A lot of these people are pretty respectful to the area. And a lot of it's just blatant racism from like City of Wetaskiwin members. A lot of them drive up and they'll yell at the campers, go back to the reserve, you know, dirty Indians, you don't belong here.
I think more it's about the perception of the people than the actual people. And I've seen that here firsthand. We're seeing overt racism here in Wetaskiwin, unlike I've ever seen in my career. I worked in children's services for a long time. I've never seen racism at this level.
Inspector Durrance of the Wetaskiwin RCMP spoke to APTN. He said crime so far this year is actually down. There were some increases of assaults and use of chemicals. And break-and-enters and car thefts are down.
Look, this is all we got left is that right there. Yeah, that's 3 more logs for the night. How are we going to deal with that?
Tom has been living in the teepee outside the Rock Soup. Tom is not his real name. He says local residents shine headlights at the tents at night to disturb their sleep.
They drive by on their vehicles and rev them up, the heavy, you know, with the loud pipes, they're heavy trucks, yeah. Just then they beep the horn 4 in the morning by here real long, just to be ignorant, right?
To keep you awake.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Tom is asking for donations of wood, socks, and winter clothing. The firewood is nearly gone.
This thing doesn't burn like a vehicle, you need fuel to run it, right? Same with this, it needs wood to run. Without this wood, it's going to get cold in there.
Mayor Gendham says the site behind the Walmart will provide washrooms, garbage disposal, and a fire pit. The location has been used in the past. He says the city is working towards a permanent solution.
Not everything has gone smoothly. We haven't gotten it right every time, but we learn from our mistakes and we're going to continue to do that and continue to make that effort.
Are you confident that there'll be a solution and a place for these people to stay before the winter?
I am confident, yeah.
Tom is grateful for the help of the Rock Soup, but their resources are limited.
Yeah, people are just trying to live here and survive. Look, we're starving. Soup Rock can only support so much, right? And they're bending their backs just to keep these guys fed every day and draining their accounts just to makes people happy, you know? Nobody else out there is pulling for us, just them. But, you know, if you have a heart, come here and support us.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Wetaskiwin, Alberta.
Well, murals are adding vibrancy and culture to the city of Terrace in northwest BC. A collective of artists known as Raven Takwera are painting their latest mural there right now, hoping that it sheds some light on murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
We talked about just doing one wall, and then we got together and said, no, let's paint the whole building, and let's make this building, when people walk by it, they need to say wow, and they need to come in and they need to have a look at it, and that will foster conversations with a variety of people about what it's about and bring the issue forward.
Dave Gordon is president of the Skeena Salmon Arts Festival Society, a nonprofit behind the latest mural going up in Terrace, BC. This one is at the Cromody Friendship Centre. They receive part of their funding from Heritage Canada, and BC Arts Council. A collective of artists known as Raven Tequera are painting the building. Amanda Hugon from the Stolo Nation wants the mural to start a conversation about MMIWG.
To be part of this, to bring the awareness, to share that conversation, to bring that up even for the people that might not be aware that it's happening. It's nice to share that and show that through the artwork, to share that story, just to bring the awareness, to make sure that we're all watching out for each other.
Travis Hebert, a Cree Métis artist who grew up in the Northwest, is also part of the collective that has been painting murals around the Northwest.
First joined the collective called Raven Tequera, and that was my first time doing like a big mural back in 2018 in Terrace. So here we're on our 6th mural as a collective, and it's been amazing.
Their work touches on topics that the group wants to highlight in the community.
We also have the LGBTQ2S+. It's representation, it's visibility, you know, and it feels good. It feels like, you know, the times are changing. And
Raven Tequera say they received positive feedback over the murals they created. The MMIWG mural, painted on the Friendship Center, will be complete in about 3 weeks. The art is becoming an attraction for tourists. Hugon says it's rewarding when people come and share the impact the art is making on them.
But they're saying like who they are, where they're from, and what it means to them to see this, where a lot of them have been ripped away from their culture, and we feel like they're adopting this as this is what they know, this is what they see, this is what they want to be part of.
Skeena Salmon Arts Festival has been working with the Terrace Downtown Improvement Society. They are completing 5 other murals with other artists by the end of summer. Gordon wants to keep working with artists until every wall is painted.
We need reasons for people to come into our downtown, and murals and art are a great way to do it. All of this art celebrates our sense of place in the Northwest, our culture. So if you're not from here, you can come here and you can go around town and get a feel for who we are.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Terrace.
Some beautiful work there. Well, we need to take one more break, but then we'll take you to the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory where Indigenous tattoo artists gathered to learn and share. Stay with us. Welcome back. Indigenous tattoo artists from across Canada were in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory recently. It was a chance for them to unite and empower each other and show off a little bit of their craft. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
It doesn't look like much is happening from a distance, but underneath this canopy, there's a whole lot of inking going on. That's why Emily Kehoe made the 6-hour trek to Tyendinaga from Sudbury. This is her first hand-poked tattoo.
I think it's a really good cause. I think that it's bringing awareness to traditions, and I really am into that.
Kehoe is getting inked by Odinamod Turningwind, a self-taught artist. It's his first gathering. He came to support and learn from other traditional Indigenous tattoo artists. He says it's a process of reconciliation.
It's part of a holistic worldview, I think, in different cultures across nations, which has been heavily suppressed by our colonizers, which the stigma and the taboo is coming from also. And I feel the sense of empowerment coming off the clients that we have. I'm pretty confident to say that for all the tattooers here at the gathering also is that people really are proud to wear their imagery, their spiritual connection like on their body, as some of our ancestors have done before. And yeah, I almost see it as a spiritual armor, you know, whether it's for coming of age or signifying certain walks of life or achievements. So it's important.
Turningwind is one of over 20 tattoo practitioners participating in the 4-day event. With so many professionals in one place, Leah Grossbeck jumped at the opportunity.
My name is Ziguan Quay, and what it translates to is the woman, the woman under the water, directing like the current, directing the water, telling the water where to go, basically. So the symbols I chose are like the pictographs, and it's water and a woman.
For tattooists like Mel Lefebvre, it's a chance to learn more about the skin stitch from her mentor, Dion Kazis.
You could essentially get a full line, but usually I leave a dash in between because a lot of people don't know about skin stitching or the revival of the technique. And so when I first started the work, I decided I would leave a dash in between so that when people look at it, they go, oh, what's that? Because they'll know it's different. And then that gives an opportunity to educate about the revival and what the meaning of the revival of our tattooing practices is.
Organizer Seth Lafort is pleased with the turnout.
Reclaiming our tattoo culture is a part of that process of rehabilitating from the residential school experience and the Indian day school and the Catholicism and the Anglicanism, all that. And so I really believe that. And that's why I embrace this so much. And so it's part of the reason why this gathering got called, because people were calling me saying, we need to do something, People need something, they're hurting. And I could see that. I could see people were hurting, especially with all the schools that have been found and all the land issues that's been coming up.
Lafort says it's the third gathering of its kind to be held on Turtle Island, and he's hoping to see more. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Tyendinaga, Mohawk Territory.
Nunavut and Nunavik have lost a journalistic tour de force. Jim Bell, longtime editor of Nunatsiaq News, passed away from cancer at the age of 69. Bell spent 34 years with Nunatsiaq News, the paper that covers Nunavut and Nunavik. Premier Joe Savikata said that his pieces were researched, passionate, and always authentically him. Bell was a frequent guest here on APTN National News since the very beginning. Here he is way back in 2000 talking about convicted criminals being elected to the Nunavut Legislative Assembly.
Why are we not hearing political leaders here saying violence is wrong? It's wrong to rape women.
That definitely leaves a hole in the news world up there for sure. Well, that is a wrap up of this week's news here on APTN. I'm Melissa Ridge. You have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday.